What's up, guys? This is Bullfire the Fell-Handed. Today we have for you the Pz.Kpfw 7 weak spot guide. Important note, in the video I mistakenly called this thing the VK7201 because they are extremely similar slash kind of the same thing. Anyway, guys, going forward, if you have any weak spot guides you'd like me to hit up, let me know, comment below, and we will make it happen. So let's get right to it. Our standard heat is a premium round. Your APCR, your armor piercing composite ridge, it's going to come in 264, and your high explosive anti-tank is going to come in at 330. That will come in a bit later. Frontally, this bad boy is tough. It's got a few weak spots, none that are really easy to get to. Okay, so obviously facing this thing straight on, you want to go for the lower plate. Lower plate's going to come in at about a 50-50 shot. It's running in the 260s range. So, you know, I just happen to be lucky with the premium, or excuse me, with the RNG rolls. It may not happen for you every time. Okay, so moving on. Upper plate, definitely a no-no. Upper plate comes in at the high threes, so right around 375 is where the upper plate is. You know, granted, of course, if you're in a tank destroyer, then that would be your go-to. Maybe if you have a very, very hot round, I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't shoot at the upper plate. Okay, so moving on. This thing has a lot of weak spots around the side and the turret that, you know, like you saw right there, you can get to, but they're not easy. Like right here, if you can manage to hit it, it is more or less 100% penetration all the time. Armor comes in the low 200s, 225, 210, 215, what have you. So you can penetrate them, although, you know, you do have to make sure you connect with that. Now, the sides of the turret here, guys, are very, very high. 383 is where they come in at. Now, there are a few weak spots as you get in closer here. As you see right here, we have a little band, and that's almost 100% penetration. Armor comes in the 220s range, so it's the low twos. If you can connect with it, though, that's the weird part. You have to be able to connect with it, so I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs in that basket. Now, the closer you get to the actual gun, you can sneak around between the gun and the mantlet. It's a horrible design, but you know what? Who am I here? Who am I to call a horrible designer? Also, you can hit the commander's hatch. It's a little tough to hit, much like the other ones. You know, and it has the weak spots. They're just not super obvious. You can even sneak one underneath the turret ring, or not the turret ring per se, but underneath the mantlet right there. So not easy. I tried to test out the gun here to see how easy it is to damage the gun. The gun is not having it. So far, it's a little tough to damage, so just keep that in mind, you know, in case you want to ruin this bad boy's accuracy. Maybe it's a different story if you fire high explosive at it. I don't know. Either way, you know, you just have to be very, very cautious, because you have to consider this gentleman is going to be shooting back at you the entire time you are trying to explore his tank for weak spots. So go for what you know, which is the lower plate, possibly even the side. But then again, guys, you're very rarely going to find one of these monsters straight up facing you. You know, they're going to be angled, they're going to be getting the most out of their armor, and in a moment we're going to go over what is considered the optimum angle of this monster. Moving on, as you can see here, guys, we're firing heat at this bad boy. A little bit of the tank opens up with heat, but not very, very much. Essentially, the same things open up. More of a shot, I guess, on the side here. The side, you've got about a 60% chance to penetrate on the sides of the turret to the left and the right that were previously locked down. But, you know, it's weird considering most tanks, you know, really open up when you start running premium. This tank, not so much. It's more or less the same thing, which, you know, is a testament to the armor. Commander's hatch there, you can get them in. To me, it seemed like it was an off and on shot. Anyway, moving on. Let's get it right into angled weak spots. Now, for you VK operators out here, 25 degrees is your optimum angle. Your lower plate becomes very, very strong. As a matter of fact, everything becomes strong. Everything is just completely red. Nothing's happening. The front of the tank, the sides of the tank, there's a sloped area on the right-hand side of the tank that is normally a very touchy area that, normally it can be pinned. At this particular angle, though, it is just not going to happen. Now, that being said, if you look the back of the vehicle, the round turret sets on a matching round area there. That round area is its weak spot, and of course it also holds its ammo rack, so it is a double weak spot. Now, this is the area that is very touchy. This is the area right here. It's going to open up when we start firing heat. If I move the reticle back towards the right some more, then we're going to be in business. We're going to be nothing but penetrations right there. Now, that being said, you have a small area where you can penetrate. If you go any further back, you're going to be getting into the 10% penetration chance. The armor is going to be 292 effective, so you have to keep that in mind. Firing at the turret here, guys, same exact thing, same exact profile as before. Just putting a few in here for posterity. Like I said, the weak spot bands are right outside the mantlet and right between the mantlet and the gun, which is a bit odd. Now, right here's the weak spot. I said that, previously that this bad boy is going to have when it's angled towards you. You can go through this thing with your standard APCR or AP or what have you. 264 millimeters of average penetration. Let's put it that way. Now, the further you go back on that little area, the less chance of penetration you're going to have. As you can see here, we're still hitting the weak spots on the side of the gun, but you know what? We're 50 meters away, and not even every shot is guaranteed. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're fighting this thing from a distance, there's not going to be much chance of penetration. So just be aware of that it's very, very possible it's not going to happen. Keep sneaking between the gun and the mantlet. I have no idea how that's happening. It makes me sad, but you know what? It is a viable weak spot for you VK guys out there who are trying to take down this tank. For you VK operators, just move your turret, keep it moving, keep everything moving, make those micro movements, make it all happen. Okay, so moving on. Now we're switching to heat here, guys. As you can see, the lower plate opens up just a little bit for us. We're getting in the lower plate there. And, the lower plate's coming in at 300, but, we're running 330. So we have the numbers there to beat that. Now, granted, I didn't really put it in the video. If you go up at that band between the lower and upper plate there, that is probably a no-go. That's going to be a little less than a 50-50 chance. That band is particularly high. It's around 330 itself, a little bit higher than that, so keep that in mind. Don't necessarily shoot that band. Now, the slope down the side there, which I was saying earlier, is a big weak spot. You have to be very cautious for you operators out there, because if someone is running heat, which they probably will against you, that whole entire area opens up. It's a sloped triangle. So you have to be very cautious. Now, granted, of course, you could deviate like I am. You could hit the area above, but you can't really see it because of the bars on the side of the tank, what have you. But trust me, it is there. As well as you could put rounds in the turret seat, I guess is what I'm going to call the round bit in the back of the tank. Now, like I said before, the areas around the turrets, they get slightly bigger, but that's about it. The little bands of areas you can hit for the weak spots on the turret, not very big, just slightly bigger, which doesn't really, in my mind, necessitate spamming heat at it. Shoot your APCR, shoot something cheaper versus throwing all this money at the side of a tank, or you could drive around it. Just my 2 cents. So anyway, moving on. As you can see here, guys, the real weak spot is directly below the reticle, this whole area through here. I'm kind of saving the best for last. Didn't want to immediately destroy the tank off the gate. That's a bad weak spot. Okay, guys, so moving on. Let's go to over-angled weak spots, which is 39 degrees. So there's a little bit to play with, 14 degrees to play with. Now, at 39 degrees, lower plate is nigh invincible. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get through there. You run some heat, you're going to be going at a 50-50 chance. Upper plate on this bad boy is 500 at the closest, at the furthest away angle. At the closest, it's the low fours, or mid fours. So the entire side of the tank, guys, opens up. You are in business. This thing is a tack hammer. You can go right down through the side of the tank if he is angled like this. So this is a good, example of you VK operators out there of what to do and what not to do. Now, of course, the area I'm hitting has a 80% chance to pin, and of course, it is not happening for me. Not saying it won't happen for you, but just keep that in mind, that this tank, it's kind of like the IS-7, if you remember my IS-7 weak spot guide. It has bands going through it that are different strengths. I don't know why, but sometimes they can affect your rounds. The cap that the turret sets on right there, the little round housing, is pretty much good to go in any angle. You just have to be aware of that. My VK operators, keep that hidden, move it around, whatever you have to do. Face hug especially. You face hug in this tank, you may be in business, although you have to be careful. If they know where those little weak spots are on the turret, you may be in trouble. Okay, guys, let's get right into side weak spots. Side of this tank, there are still a few locations that are going to bounce. For the most part, you're set. You're going to be able to get right in there and do some work. The mantlet from the side is an insane amount of armor. It's more or less an auto bounce. The gun is solid. You have to be wary of the very tip top of the mantlet, the back of the turret. Of course, guys, my veteran, World of Tank assassins out there are going to say, obviously, yeah, you don't want to hit the top of the sides because the armor is super rounded, and of course, that is 100% correct. You hit that, it's more or less going to be an auto bounce. It's not even going to give you a number on it. Now, moving on, what I like to do here is I like to go through here and show you more or less what's going to bounce, what's not going to bounce. And in these cases, I like to go through here and I like to show you where the armor's at, where not to shoot it first. Now we managed to get a lucky shot in there. Now, you're going to have a little armor up there at the top underneath the commander's hatch. The flat part of the rounded top, if that makes sense, where it starts to slope down towards the side of the tank. You have to be cautious there. As you can see right there, I just managed to shoot it, which was awesome, and it's going to bounce. So keep that in mind, that you could deviate possibly to the top and bounce around. So the best bet, shoot the side of the tank, shoot the track area, what have you. I wouldn't necessarily go for the turret, kind of like the VK 100.01p I did last time. You don't necessarily want to shoot for the turret because it's still an iffy shot. If your round deviates, you're not going to pin. You're going to be like, what in the world just happened? So go for the side of the tank, go for the hull, make it happen. We're not even going to run heat on this go around because we don't really have to. There's no need. Now, obviously, like I said, you deviate your round on the turret, it is going to possibly bounce. And there's a few bands of strength in the turret, but nothing considerable. Okay, guys, let's get right into weak spots. As you can see here, the sides you have to be very cautious of. Like I said earlier, they're rounded. It's a good chance to bounce. Anywhere on the sides, it's going to happen. You're going to bounce. You have to be very wary of that. If you're going to fire, go for the flattest part. Obviously, the experienced veteran World of Tankers know this. For my VK7201 operators, if somebody's behind you, fix that immediately. Get the front of the tank towards them. If not the front, at least the turret. But then again, if you've got somebody behind you, you're flanked, then that means you probably have someone in front of you as well. So you're kind of in trouble to begin with. But you get the idea. What I'm saying is that, try not to let that happen. Okay, so moving on. Around the sides here, guys, very tough. If you're going to shoot this bad boy, shoot it dead center in the back. Lower that band around the middle there. which is what the turret sits on top of. That entire thing is made out of ammo racks. That's a good thing to do. Also, another area to shoot, if you're going to shoot the turret, there is the one facing the right. That is one ammo rack in particular. That's kind of what I like to call the ready rack, because, you know, that's the one that the actual gunner uses to fill the gun, so he doesn't have to go down to the hull of the tank or get them passed up. So you could fire right here, hit the rack. So it's a good idea there. Anywhere on here is good, but I'm just kind of giving you the weak spots ahead of the game. Okay, guys, modules. Let's get into modules. I know I spoke a little bit about them before, but let's get right into it. Right here we have the cannon, which I have been told is extremely nasty. This thing has a number of observation devices. This is one like on the original Panther, the pop-up observation device. And we have a couple up here on top. Right here where the commander sits in the middle of the tank. In the back middle of the tank, let me be specific. Okay, so moving on here. This is your driver. He sits right here. To the left of the driver sits the radio operator. Now, if you guys, you know, you've gotten this far, you're used to German tanks being caught on fire from the front, well, I have more bad news. This has engine in the front of the tank. It is powertrain, but the game recognizes engine, so you will be hit and caught on fire if somebody gets a good shot at you. Gets through that lower plate, so keep that in mind. Okay, so in this tank, guys, the gunner and the loader sit forward of the tank. The commander actually sits in the back. So this is your gunner right through here. Your commander sits in the middle of the tank behind both the loader and the gunner. And then the loader sits to the left. So yeah, that's how it is organized inside this vehicle. Lots of interesting stuff. Side of the tank here, guys, driver once again. And we're not going to do the little bit of engine in the front. The main engine, the actual engine, you know, fills up behind the driver and the loader. Excuse me, driver and the radio operator. Duh. The fuel tank sits behind that. Doesn't have a massive fuel tank. I would imagine the range of this tank would not be, you know, astounding. Like I spoke previously, this entire area is made of ammo racks, both sides. Yes, absolutely. So, you know, worst case scenario, you could reach down there to load the gun if you had to, but we have another one on the back, which is, you know, what I refer to as a ready rack. So here we have the gunner, exact same position, and behind him the commander, which sits in the back of the tank. Right through there. Yes, sir. Okay, so let's get to the back of the tank here, guys. This entire area right here, ammo rack once again. Lots and lots of ammo rack on this, guys. So if you'd like to fire this thing anywhere, this ring, any location is where you want to go for. What I was talking about ready rack earlier is kind of canted at an angle on the inside of the tank right here, and it's on the loader side. So that'll be a good way to remember that. And then once again, the commander sits in the dead center of the tank. Okay, guys, that's all we have for you today. That was Bull's weak spot guide to the Pz.Kpfw 7. I hope you all enjoyed that, got some good knowledge out of it. It'll help you operators out there, as well as you guys trying to, you know, penetrate this monster of a tank. If you have any weak spot guides you would like me to do, please comment below. I would love to hear your input. Anything additional you think I should put in here, just please let me know. See you guys next time. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you later. Hey guys, don't forget, we have Interview with a Tanker. Deadline for that is February 1st. Just comment your gamer tag. We've already got about 35 or so names for that, but I would like more. Q&A, I'm going to set the deadline for that for February 1st as well, so just put Q&A in front of your comment, or excuse me, your question in the comment section. We'll get you taken care of there. The 1000th sub video is going to have 5 giveaways of premium time. More details when it happens. It should be soon. I mean, you know, hopefully. Weak spot guides are coming, I promise. Up next is going to be the KV5, followed by the VK100, and then finally the Panzer 7. Hopefully I can get on top of my weak spot guide game.